Let's see. We're going to. Oh, yeah, people are flooding in already. Hello, everyone. So we are just. I'm just welcoming Paul to the virtual stage, and we'll wait for you to come in. 104, 106, 112. Everyone's flooding in. Feel free to say who you are, where you're from, maybe what you're looking to learn from this today. Say hello. Um, Don't be shy. Hi, Simon. Hello. Thanks for coming. So, yep, everyone's coming in. We're just gonna, yeah, from Sweden. Very international today. We've got lots of Europeans. Moscow. Welcome, Peter. Poland. All over the place. Hi, Muga. Yeah, great. So, okay, we're gonna kick off quite shortly. Bimble in the house. Julia. Hi, Bimble. Julia. So, Cheshire. Netherlands, Amsterdam, Germany. Welcome to our first proper talk of App Promotion Summit London 2020, working from home. Really, really happy to have Paul McCallum here from Babylon Health, and he's the Director of Customer Acquisition there. And when I was getting the agenda together for this event, originally back in the happy days of sort of January, I thought to myself, which are the really, great hot kind of app companies in the UK right now that I really want to come and get involved and do a talk. And I obviously thought of Babylon Health, one of the world's leading apps in the healthcare space. And so I don't know how, but really, really then happy that Paul was able to agree to join and share a bit about their app marketing, what they've been doing. So please give Paul a big virtual welcome to the stage. And that's enough for me. I'm going to hand over to Paul now. He's going to take you through the content. If you have questions for him, please leave them in the chat. Or I think there's the question box. Maybe I have to enable that, and we can try and do some Q&A later. Yeah, there's Q&A box. So if you have any questions, please please dump them in there, and we'll see if Paul can deal with them after. That's enough for me. Over to Paul.
Thanks very much. So thanks. I'm Paul McCallum, Director of Customer Acquisition for Babylon Health, who are an artificially intelligent-driven healthcare company working within the telemedicine integrated healthcare space. So thank you all for coming today. Hopefully I'll try and speak slowly because I'm very aware that I have quite a strong Scottish accent. So please bear with me and I'll try and take my time going through the slides. So the topic of the presentation today is basically how by using App Store optimization, you can help reduce budgets and improve your position within the App Store. So I've got an agenda, which hopefully we can see. So there's a few things I'm going to cover today. So I'm going back to when I first joined Babylon back in September 2018. And I'll take you through why we had to find a new approach of how we work with Apple search ads and App Store optimization in general. Then what we did at that time to sort of review our strategy within the space, and then what the results of that initial phase were back then, and then a little bit about what we wanted to do next, which obviously we have done, but I'm going to focus on just the initial sort of 6-month efforts that we had and how they really transformed our business at Babylon. So let's get straight into the slides. So first of all, hopefully everybody who's here knows why App Store optimization is important. But I mean, I think it's good to just recap some of these key things here. So I mean, I think the thing about ASO, which is what I'm going to call it, rather than App Store optimization all the time, is that it can give an uplift in your organic downloads over time of up to 20 or 30%. The lifetime value of organic users can also be much higher than those that you get through paid acquisition. Third one is that basically most apps now are discovered via App Store search. So the fascination with like the rankings within categories is slipping. So people are more inclined now to use keywords within the App Store to find what they're looking for, as opposed to going to the health category or the business productivity category or whatever category you might be in to try and find an app. And that's a really important thing to bear in mind going forward. I think another key factor is obviously ASO helps you appear above your competitors for key search terms, which is what you really want to do, ideally without having to pay money to get there as well. And then obviously media is generally becoming more expensive, and so the fact that you can start to improve your organic performance means you can basically save the money, and that's a key part of what this presentation is going to be about. So I'm going to crack right on in. And you can probably tell that I do like a little animated GIF or two during this presentation, and hopefully they're all working. So we obviously, when I first joined Babylon in September 2018, seems a long time ago now, I was aware that some of our key performance indicators within the app stores were not going the right way. And I love a good chart. So here was a chart basically looking at what we were doing within just Apple search ads and iOS in terms of what we were spending every month. So we were trying to obviously grow the business rapidly, so there was a reason for us doubling the spend between September and January. So there's nothing really wrong with that in a business that's trying to grow, to be fair, but obviously it's not a sustainable thing forever. So I'm going to crack on now. One of the downsides of ramping up spend is that you will tend to find that you start to edge into your organic things. So things that you would have almost got before anyway, you may now be paying for. It's very tricky to get that balance right. So you can see at Babylon, we were getting close to parity between paid installs and organic installs within iOS, which is something that I wasn't that comfortable with, because I felt that we could make more of our organic performance. So as you can see there, by the time we get to January, we are almost 45% paid, 55% organic, which is a big difference from what we were back in September, where it was 31-69. So the ratio was definitely going the wrong way. And as a result of us obviously putting more spend in, you can see that our CPIs, whether they were blended or whether they were just purely within Apple search ads, were also not actually going the right way either. So you can kind of see that blended CPI there, which is the light colour, going from £1.50 up to £2.25, which again may not seem disastrous, but obviously as somebody who's keen to be efficient and make sure that we're spending the budget wisely, I felt that this is something that we didn't want to continue going on and on and on. So it felt that there was definitely a worrying trend there for me. And I think perhaps the most alarming trend is the fact that despite all that spend that we were piling in to try and sort of improve performance, if you actually looked at where we were within our medical iOS chart, which is like the Bible for Babylon, we still really weren't actually breaking into the top 3, which is like one of the KPIs that we kind of had as a soft measure. As a leading sort of player in the market, we expect to be sort of dominating the search rankings. And you can see that we obviously did improve from just below position 6 up to position 3.5, 4. So we did hit 3 sometimes, but generally we weren't sort of getting the cut through we wanted. And for a company like Babylon, we really wanted to get a place in that sort of top 3. So that was kind of why we felt we had to find a better approach. So we felt that we just couldn't keep going, piling more and more money into our paid media. We had to sort of take a step back and reevaluate what we were doing. So a bit like Jose, not happy with how things were going there. So one of the things that I have, I'm kind of proud of, is that normally I usually move lots of things in-house when I've been at various jobs in the past. But sometimes you just have to accept that you do need a partner to sort of give you that specialist knowledge. And this presentation isn't sponsored by the ASO company or Jellyfish, but they were the partner that I sort of found back in January 2019 to sort of help us come in and sort of reevaluate our strategy within this space. And it's a bold decision to say that the people you have been working with, who are great at what they do, aren't the right people to sort of get you through the next stage, but sometimes that's the sort of decisions you just have to make. So what exactly today? So this is a very busy slide, but it's a slide that they showed us during their pitch to win the business. And it was one of those slides that really brought home to me the opportunity that was out there for us to do better organically within Apple Search in particular. And you can kind of see, I mean, just to give you a general idea of what this slide is saying, is there's a lot of keywords with a lot of high volume that Babylon, who are in the first column, either were not ranked for at all or had a really low ranking within the store. But it's kind of said to me that we were obviously buying quite a lot of these terms via Apple search ads. But it meant to me that there was obviously an opportunity for us to say, well, how can we get some of these ones that are outside the top 10 either into the top 10 and picking up downloads for free, or how can we actually just start to rank on some key health terms that were very relevant to our business. So this was a real killer slide at the time, and it really made me think that we could do a better job in this space. So what are the sort of key factors that sort of drive organic ranking? So there's loads, and they differ between iOS and Google Play. But I mean, I think the ones that ASO can really help with, and they're all marked high in this little grid we've got here, are obviously your metadata and its relevancy, and also the creative that you have within the App Store itself. And by that I mean, what does your App Store landing page look like? So how do you portray your app to the world? So in many ways, your App Store is your shop window, and you can get millions of impressions of that. But it's how do you sort of convert people in that shop window? And then obviously the metadata and the relevancy is obviously bringing the right people to sort of stand in front of your shop, if that makes sense. So making sure you're bringing the right audience in, the right keywords in the first place, so that when they look in, they think this is the app for me, and they commit and install. And there's other factors there which are also very important, such as whether you are spending money on Apple search ads, which is one of those things for certainly Apple we believe is important. Less so much on Google Play, but it's still a factor. Things that obviously are within Babylon's interest are things like ratings and reviews, which we know are extremely important to sort of maintaining a good organic ranking for your keywords. And then obviously also the fact that just how popular is your app? Are people using it? Are they sticking with it? Or are they uninstalling? Or are they, just a little note there telling me to slow down, so I'll make a conscious effort to try and rein it back a little bit. So again, the engagement retention of what your app, how popular is your app once people have got it? Are they using it every month? Are they coming back to it? Are they downloading it, using it once and getting rid of it? These are all factors that can obviously affect how you rank within the store. So let's move on to the next slide. ASO obviously spent a lot of time looking at how we could improve our meta keywords. So this goes from changing the name of your app, which for us was quite a scary thought back in the day, because we had never really thought about changing the name of our app within the App Store. And it was something that we actually had to get quite senior sign off to do, because obviously you think of your name as being sacred, but ultimately if you can change what you have within your title, it can make a big difference to how you can rank for certain keywords. So I think that was a real eye-opener for us, where we had never thought that was something we would do before, but once we had actually listened to what ASO had done with other companies in the space, it made a lot of sense for us to look at not just being Babylon Health, but becoming Babylon Health with something slightly more encouraging. The other key things were obviously the subtitle that you use between your app, which again is a key ranking factor. And then within iOS, one of the things that's obviously hidden from the general public is your declared keywords. And I think this is where, for me, we found that we had never really paid enough attention to these declared keywords as to how we could utilize them to sort of reduce our paid spend and make us more relevant within the organic keywords that people were searching for. So that was a real revamp of what we had there, which I think was probably one of the biggest things that we could do to sort of improve our performance in terms of visibility within the App Store, certainly within the world of iOS. And then obviously they also help us write short descriptions and long descriptions, which again, for Google Play, that can be very critical in terms of making sure that that the App Store puts you in front of people for the right keywords that you're relevant for, which is really, really important. So what was the sort of things that we also did then? So here is what we sort of had. We always had Babylon Health before. We then moved to Babylon NHS Healthcare 24/7. And we also changed the subtitle. So we used to be get access to NHS GPs 24/7. We became symptom checker and GP advice. And that was based on sort of the keyword research that ASO had did along with us, plus our own business input as to what we thought were important. And obviously that opened up a world of more keywords for us than what we had before, without obviously ruining what the brand is. Because for many people we are called Babylon, so we don't have to be called Babylon Health. And I think that was a good learning for us to take. And on the right hand side there, some of the things that were really important is you don't repeat any keywords within your declared keyword field or within your hidden keywords. You want to maximize the algorithms that iOS use to ensure that you get the most visibility. Interestingly, for Google Play, the algorithms perform slightly different, and you should be repeating keywords because there's no punishment for doing that in that sense, and there's actually a benefit there for the keywords that are very relevant, should be both in your title and in the front of your description. And I mean, these were some really key learnings for us that really helped us improve our performance. So this is the grid that kind of shows exactly why getting this part right is really important for both iOS and Google Play. So there's a lot of data on this slide here, but to take it one at a time, on the left-hand side, we've got iOS, and we've got, in the grid at the top, we've got keywords ranked in the top 3, keywords where we're ranked in the top 10, number of keywords ranked 11 to 25, and then number of keywords where we are like ranked 26 and above. And you've got like a list of pre-ASO and post-ASO in terms of what changes we made. And I think you can see some pretty hefty performance growth there on the iOS side. So we obviously went from having 18 keywords ranking in the top 3 to 57 post changes, which is 217% growth, which is exactly what we were hoping to achieve from this performance. Top 10 also went up from 30 to 84, which is 180% growth. And the one thing I would say, obviously our 26 and above went down, but that's because those ones moved into either 11 to 25 or top 10 or top 3. And some of the sort of key keywords down below for iOS that we suddenly had great performance on. So things like GP advice that we never ranked, we were now number 1. Things like some of our competitors who we knew were very active in the marketplace, we also now started to rank for, which is really important because sometimes you can piggyback off of their media efforts. If you know they're doing a lot of app acquisition activity, if you can suddenly rank organically for some of the terms that their brand terms, and that can be an easy way to pick up some installs because you can be offered a very similar service. And so that's why we've got things like Livy, now GP in there, things like Ada as well. So it wasn't just an iOS play. So I mean, I think for Google Play as well, we've seen again 156% growth in terms of our top 3. So we used to have 9 keywords for Google Play when we started this process, and we ended up with 23 after the first round of our App Store optimization. Our top 10 doubled from 16 to 32, and we also improved from 11 to 25, up 4 keywords to 7. And the interesting thing about Google Play is we actually improved better even on the keywords that were down lower. We just all of a sudden had a lot more keywords now ranking, even at the lower ranges as well. So again, slightly different keywords we perform better on for Google. So things like NHS healthcare, NHS doctor, online GP. So these are big keywords for our app. These are what we really focus on, and we never ranked for these before, and all of a sudden we had top spot for this to occur. I will go back to some of the questions after the presentation. I can see them coming in as I'm speaking. I mean, I think that the key thing to take away here is that on both iOS and Google Play, we sort of revamped our organic performance after just the first set of changes that we did with the ASO. So what exactly, it's great to say we get some rankings. And so we're obviously bringing more people to look in the shop window, which is, as we were talking about earlier. But obviously the next part is then how do you make your app more visually appealing and more relevant to those people who are looking in the window? How do you get them to actually come in the door and install your app? And so the other piece of work that we work with the SEO on is just the creative look and feel of our app. And that can be anything from the icon we have within the store to the different screen layouts we have as well. So this is the things that they focused on. So you can kind of see at the top there, we had the traditional sort of vertical screen layouts. And we tested, one of the great things about ASO, working with ASO, is the ability to actually A/B test the different versions. So it's not all or nothing within the how we do things. So you actually have a little bit of science behind what they do. And so we obviously played around with changing the logos. We played around with the whether it was vertical or horizontal. We changed the colour to become more Babylon, which is why we've got pink and not just the cyan and blue that we have at the top. And it's interesting, changing the logo was like very controversial and actually made very little difference to what performed in terms of getting installs. There was nothing up or down about doing that. But we did find that moving to the horizontal one actually wasn't a good play for us. People actually preferred the vertical layout. So I mean, and I think that the good thing about A/B testing, there's no such thing as a bad test. So even if you do something that doesn't work, there's a learning for you there that you can take away and make sure you apply to any future changes you're going to make. So after this was about a 6 week to 8 week process of going through this. So what did all this result in? So a little way for you again there. So at the very start, I showed you the slide of how much money we were spending on Apple Search Ads, and then I've got so up until January, we started working with the ASO at the end of Jan, and so their work really only kicked in from February onwards. And you can see that one of the good things there is, like, within the first few months, we managed to scale back our spend back down to just 17,000 a month, which is like a 65% reduction compared to what we were doing in our peak in January, which anyone can pull spend back. So I mean, you might think there's nothing to be excited about there. But what is interesting here is that our percentage share of organic installs rocketed back up. So we went from obviously the low point of 45% paid, 55% organic, back up to 69% of our installs coming from organic. This is focused just in iOS for the purpose of the presentation. But I mean, that was something that we were really, really pleased about, which was the whole purpose of hiring an ASO, really, was to sort of help us achieve that shift. But again, moving on to what did that mean in terms of our CPIs? I mean, interestingly, you can see that obviously our paid CPIs dipped, as you would expect, because we're obviously pulling spend out of Apple Search Ads, so you should hope we would see some efficiencies. And you can see that improved by 42%. But what's really fascinating is, because we improved our organic installs as well as the efficiency within the paid side, we actually managed to get down to a blended CPI of 91p on iOS, which is the best blended CPI at that moment in time that we'd ever had. And was like a 61% improvement compared to what we had been seeing back in February, just as they were taking over, which is really, really, really some great stats. But I think what's even more impressive, and what probably we got most plaudits for, ironically, within the business, is the fact that despite pulling all the spend out of what we were doing previously, we actually seen our App Store position improve. So whereas before we were kind of struggling to get into the top 3, from March onwards, we actually managed to not only get to the top 3, but we actually did hit number 1 in a couple of weeks. Over the month, we obviously didn't average number 1, but it was a really important thing to see that by almost implementing the tactics that we had from ASO, we managed to shift the position from being what was normally 4, 3.5, 4, up to what was normally about 2.5, I would say, over that period, which is a real achievement of the work that ASO did. So in summary, I realise I've covered a lot of ground in my 10-minute presentation. Monthly Apple Search Ad spend was down 65% from its peak. We managed to increase our share of organic installs up to 69%, which was like a best ever level for us. At that time, Apple Search Ads CPIs came down 42%, which is again a key factor we were really pleased with. Blended CPIs down 61%, and we maintained our top 3 position in the iOS charts, which, although a bit of a vanity metric, is obviously something, again, that when you're a business that's going to grow is very important. So I hope that sort of covers my presentation of how we work with the ASO agency to do that. And I am going to go and move over to some of the questions that you guys have raised on the side here. Feel free to add some more questions in, because I've still got 5 minutes left. So I'll read through your questions. Please slow down a bit. I was very conscious of that, so hopefully I did manage to do that at that point.
Have you got, you can see in the Q&A box, right, Paul? Yeah, have you got that? We've got questions in the Q&A.
I see there's loads
in
here.
Can you see? It should, in your controls, there's a thing called Q&A. Do you see that?
I've got it, yeah.
Yeah, yes. So that people have say thanks for your questions, guys. And yeah, okay.
So first one is blended CPIs. So which is that just refers to what is the cost of all your installs divided by your spend. Does that make sense? So that's what the term blended means in that case. It's looking at not just your paid installs, but also your organic installs, which is where I'm coming from. The reason our CPI was so high and organic was dropped is that we were really trying to drive the business through a period of growth. So we were doing some above the line activity at the same time, and it made sense for us to really ramp our digital spend up. And so we were really making an effort to drive as many installs across all our platforms as possible. And that was why we were probably not being as effective.
Paul, sounds like your sound's gone. I don't know if...
Oh, can you not hear me?
Oh, sounds... Okay, some people are saying it's working. Okay. Yep. Okay, it's back. Right, go on.
I did get a restart Zoom error
Right.
message, which is a bit alarming, but I just clicked ignore.
Right.
So hopefully people can still hear us. So that explains that one. So I think the killer question here is, have your results justified the budget that you spent working with the ASO company? I think the fact that we are still working with the ASO company now, basically a year and 3 months on, sort of justifies the monthly cost that ASO charged us for that, for the work that they did. And we also now work with the ASO on our American apps as well as the UK app. So really pleased with the performance that did. So the savings we made in our paid media within just Apple search ads alone certainly covered the cost of the agency fees for this example. So declared keywords are keywords that you get to put within your iOS app that the public don't see, but obviously Apple sees, and then Apple, assuming those keywords are relevant to your app, will help you rank for those terms, which is where we often put our competitor keywords, just as a heads up. But it just gives you a way of sort of expanding your reach. And so that's what declared keywords are. That was a question there. What kind of tools do you use for rank analysis? So that's something that ASO or agency use to do that. So you would really need to speak to those guys to understand what that is. So that's one of their sort of secret sauce platforms that they have. How long did it take to see the impact? So I think from them starting work to making the changes probably takes about 4 to 6 weeks. But once you make the changes, you see the results within a month, I would say. So within 3 months of signing up with them, you should start to see a definite improvement in performance. So I think, what was your monthly spend? That was covered in the presentation that came down. Time frame of changes. So I've answered that one as well. So we revise our keywords probably every 4 to 6 weeks now going forward. So we're always looking at basically testing whether we should amend some of the keywords. And obviously sometimes things like what's happening just now happens, and it makes you have to make a decision about whether you should actually try and rank for things like COVID-19 and coronavirus as well. So that can be a decision that may happen that may be forced upon you. So one of the things I'd say that ASO have been really helpful for us is understanding just what should we be testing in terms of both our metadata every couple of months, but also in terms of the look and feel of the app as well. So you should always be looking to sort of move the envelope. So how often do we change titles? We probably, as I said, probably change them every month to 4 to 6 weeks. So we focus, our app is focused with, we have I'm reading the question about some of your number one keywords are appearing fourth or even lower when searching from Germany. So location will be a factor for this. So we have a UK app, we have an international app, and we have obviously US and Canada apps as well. And so we will also have different meta keywords for different apps, if that makes sense. What will be a focus for us in Canada and the US will be different from the UK, and that'd be different as well in an international app. And obviously this data as well is from a year ago, because I didn't want to share the latest data because it's sensitive. I also wanted to share data that showed the impact that moving to ASO brought for us in terms of the results that we had. Seasonality is a factor for us when we look at spending. So you are right. So January and February would be some of our biggest spending months normally, based purely on the fact that within the UK we expect more people to be sick during January and February during the course of a year. So there is an element of that we would have been spending strong in that period because we felt it was our peak season. How do you share your learnings with other marketing colleagues? How did they take your learnings and apply across their channels or campaigns? So certainly some of the copy things we would look at, and some of the A/B copy tests we did would be something we'd maybe apply in terms of website copy or email copy. So that would be something we'd just share internally within the business. Do installs remain stable as spend was pulled back? Yes, I mean, like our installs actually didn't decrease despite pulling the spend back. One of the reasons I've not shared volume of installs again is business sensitivity a little bit. But obviously the data was all, but at the time we didn't see it. We seen a slight decline because of seasonality, which we expect, but we were actually up year on year. If you looked at what we were doing the year before, and we're obviously spending a lot less money than what we were spending the year before as well. how many changes do you do monthly? We probably do. We probably prepare a set of changes for when we update the app every 2 weeks, but we don't always change our keywords and our graphics every 2 weeks. So we probably would do it once a month and let the test run to get enough data. The difference would be sometimes when things like what are happening just now in the world, we may change the app a lot more frequently, and we may change our keywords and screens a lot more frequently, just because our app's changing so much more frequently to sort of deal with COVID. Any seasonality on ASO CPIs? So I think I've covered that question already. How is our app monetized? So our app is a subscription model, is the main way that we sort of earn revenue. So people would come to the app, download it, and then we would get them to either pay for a monthly or an annual subscription or a pay-as-you-go appointment, or they can sign up for an NHS service where we get revenue through that as well.
I slightly underestimated
time,
the number of questions we were going to get. I didn't anticipate getting 67 questions for this, and only allocated half an hour. So we've got another panel kicking off in a minute, and we've got to sort of get that online. Just like the real world, there's still constraints on this digital platform. There is going to be a Q&A session on ASO next week with Dave from GummyCube. So I might save these questions and then maybe see if he can also help answer them. And I think maybe as well, hopefully maybe we can get Paul back, you know, if we do another sort of session sometime, maybe some sort of follow-up, so you can deal with all your questions. Because yeah, there's probably no way we can get through 70 questions right now, but you know, we're learning as we go here. I'd like to thank Paul hugely for taking part, you know, especially in the current circumstances, and willing to come on here. He's super busy, and you know, the app's, you know, really a lot going on right now, obviously in the space, and you know, really appreciate him, you know, taking the time to put this presentation together for it and giving it to us today. And I hope you can give them all a big virtual round of applause, please. And yeah, so thanks, Paul. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, James, for the opportunity to speak. Really enjoyed it.
All right, cheers. That was great. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we're kicking off the app growth panel at 10:15. I'm going to go and log into another Zoom webinar and try and wrangle these 5 panelists. Yeah.